Hey practitioners, today I'm going to be teaching you, with the help of my friend Dana Bluin, the top 7 tips for a great presentation. Dana Bluin is an entrepreneur currently living in Bangkok, Thailand, where he is a co-founder and CEO of a company called Mango Labs. Anyways, here's some of his tips. We all have to give presentations at different points in our life. That might be for school or work or an organization that you are involved with. No matter where we give the presentation or to who, we want to make sure that it has the impact on the audience and that it's memorable. These are 7 tips that are going to ensure that you nail the presentation and leave a lasting impression on your audience. Number 1, know your audience. The first step in preparing for any presentation should be to get a better idea of who your audience is. Knowing your audience will allow you to understand the type of content they are going to be expecting with regards to depth and technical detail. You wouldn't want to give the same presentation to a group of high school students who are interested in entrepreneurship that you would to a room full of startup founders and CEOs, because their expectations and level of understanding will be on completely different levels. Dig up as much as you can about who your audience is, what industries they work in, and what positions they generally hold. This allows you to really tailor the content and delivery of the presentation in a way that will really make it stand out and be memorable. Too many times people give killer presentations at one venue to a group made up of their core audience and then bomb on the same presentation to a different group because they didn't make the changes they needed to better address the new audience. Just because you kill it in one audience doesn't mean the same exact content will replicate the reaction with all audiences. Number 2, use structures to build on ideas. If you stand up and give a presentation and all the points you want to make are just tossed around randomly and they don't make any sense, not too many people are going to enjoy your presentation, and if they remember it, it's likely that it's not for the reasons that you want them to. However, if you structure your presentation in a way that each idea, each section builds on the one before it, you help your audience connect with the content and create logical links between the concepts. This is a great way to make more complex ideas easier for the audience to understand and remember. Number 3, use visuals. Another great tool to cement those ideas in the mind of your audience is to use visuals like charts, graphs, and infographics to illustrate and communicate a concept. As many as 65% of people are considered to be visual learners. So if you don't take this approach in your presentation, you are going to ignore the vast majority of the population. Using an image, regardless of if it's a picture, graph, or chart, can be a much more potent conveyor of information and has a much more powerful impact on the audience. A single image can convey so much information. Just like the old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. It really is. Think of the impact this can have when explaining data or results in a presentation. If you had to stand there in front of your audience and go through every data point verbally, it can get bad quickly. And this is much more common of an occurrence than you might think. But if you're able to visualize that data for your audience with a graph or chart, you instantly make it much more understandable and memorable. Showing someone 200% growth with a graph is much more exciting than explaining it while they're looking at the raw data. For example, if I took away the screen of this video and all you saw was black, it wouldn't be near as exciting. Number 4, repetition is your friend. Having a bit of structure in your presentation goes a long way in keeping the audience engaged because they can follow the information from step to step. But even more than just structuring the flow of the presentation, you also want to build in repetition. This encourages people to remember the key points of the presentation and helps it stick, which again makes it, and you, more memorable. A classic way to go about repetition is something Dana learned early on when he started his public speaking career. Another speaker at a big regional tech event came up to him after a talk and complimented Dana on his delivery and the depth of the material, but asked why he didn't use more repetition. Dana was a bit stumped because he never really thought about that before. The other speaker suggested that Dana start telling the audience what it is he wanted to tell them, just to give them a brief rundown of the key points. After that, move right into the body of the presentation and tell them exactly what was highlighted at the beginning, but obviously with more detail and extra elements that you add in to make the presentation stick. Then end the presentation by telling them what you just told them, reminding them of the key points and a brief summary for final repetition. Using this technique helps to reinforce the main points of the presentation at least 3 times, at the beginning, middle, and end. The key is to find a way to do this that it feels natural and not overly scholastic. And that takes practice, which we'll talk about later on. Tip number 5, have a story to tell. The difference between an average presentation that people zone out of and a great presentation that keeps them engaged is how you convey the information to the audience. A great way to convey the information or key points of your presentation is to use a story. By using a story, preferably an interesting one, you get your point across and you're creating a moment in the presentation that is memorable and easier for the audience to recall later. It's also hopefully going to be something that catches their attention, pulling them into what you were saying. One of the keys here, though, is that it has to be a story you can tell with commitment, and it has to be true. Always be honest with your audience, because if you're not, they will know, and you will have lost all credibility. Tip number 6, be relatable. Being relatable is actually one of the most important factors of your delivery. You want to be someone that your audience can relate to, that they would feel comfortable with talking to. Even when giving a talk as an expert on a topic, you want the audience to feel the relation. It helps them mentally engage with your content and remember you and your talk. Most people don't feel comfortable going up and talking to a stern authority figure, and no one wants to listen to someone with no confidence. So there's a fine balance you need to strike, and here's how. The most important thing you can do to come across as more relatable is to be authentic. Be yourself. Another great way to accomplish this is to work on coming across as relaxed, which can be difficult if you're not used to presenting, but this goes a long way to helping people see you as relatable. The final way you can be more relatable is to be enthusiastic about your presentation. Your enthusiasm will transfer to your audience, and now that you have enthusiasm in common, you will begin to see as more relatable. If you can get all three of these techniques mastered, you will be well on your way to making it to your audience relate to you. Tip number 7, build your confidence with practice. This might be the last tip, but it is by far the most important one out of these 7. Confidence in what you do is by far the most important element of your presentation. Having confidence adds an authority to everything you say during your presentation, but you're not going to develop the confidence you need if you don't practice, and practice a lot. Whenever Dana gives a talk or presentation, he practices. He says for hours. Dana wants to make sure he has the timing down, that he knows every slide so he doesn't have to read off them. He knows what the next slide is so he can smoothly transition between them so that he will sound natural and authentic, and can explain the concepts and tell the stories with confidence. And this all comes with practice. When you are practicing a presentation, it's not enough to sit in front of your computer and go through it. You have to practice it in front of other people. Invite some friends over and have them give some feedback on your presentation and make improvements based on their feedback. No one gets it right the first time, but practice will get you towards perfect. With these 7 tips, you should be able to put together and deliver a masterful presentation that will wow your audience and make sure that they remember you and your topic. If you guys like this collaboration, be sure to check out Dana's YouTube channel and subscribe. He has tons of videos on entrepreneurship and self-development. I hope you guys liked this video and learned something, and if you did, click the like button, or if you haven't already, the subscribe button. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, just get up on that podium. All right, I'm here. That was easy. Now I just need to... Oh my gosh! How many people are in the audience? 100? 1,000? Don't count. Okay, I can do this. I'm gonna focus on my notes. What did I have written down again? Hello. Okay, if this sounds like your worst nightmare, you're not alone. Actually, you're one of the estimated 70% of the population that has an intense fear of public speaking. And that's okay, because on today's Wellcast, we've got our triple P method that will get you through and get you calm during that next oral report and keep your breakfast where it belongs. You ready? Many polls list public speaking as the most commonly reported phobia among Americans. It's called glossophobia, meaning literally, fear of the tongue. A study by Texas Christian University tested 48 women and 48 men enrolled in a public speaking class and found that those who exhibited high trait anxiety had the most physical symptoms of distress when speaking publicly. So, what if you're the kind of person whom any bit of social acrobatics is tantamount to entering a lion's den? Hey, calm down. Okay, I'm just kidding, but seriously, calm down, all right? We've got our triple P method that'll get you through that next public speaking gig. Pause and print this Wellcast worksheet. Step 1, prepare, prepare, prepare. We said it 3 times because it's that important.
There are 2 things that go into being prepared. Number 1, knowing your subject backwards and forwards. 2, knowing exactly how you're going to present it step by step. In your Wellcast worksheet, write down the major points that you want to get across to the audience. Get the ideas out of your head and onto the paper.
In the next column to the right, start ordering these points in a logical manner. Arguing your point to the audience and winning them over is like a boxing match. First, start with some fancy footwork, a fact or an anecdote that will hook the audience in and get them to pay attention to you. Then, throw a couple of swings, supporting evidence for your argument, stats, personal stories, something that will start to convince the audience that you're taking control. And finally, the knockout, a landing blow of statements that's memorable, convincing, and sums up your speech's position. All right, step 2, posture and physicality are key. Part of keeping your anxiety at bay while giving your speech is knowing what to do with your body.
Before your speech, avoid large meals or dairy products, which will make you feel like you need to clear your throat incessantly. Bring a bottle of water on stage if you're allowed. Don't Don't be afraid to take sips throughout your speech. It'll keep your voice natural, and it gives you a moment to pause and regain your composure if needed. Stand naturally, not too stiff or slumped. Good posture will help you breathe and speak easier, and it'll let your audience know that you're calm and in control.
Step 3, panda to your audience. The best public speakers know how to work the room. Don't be completely serious unless the occasion calls for it. Don't read entirely off the cards. Keep it natural, cadence and pace. Throw a joke or a side in. It'll draw in a laugh. If there's a silence, then turn that into a joke. Stay natural, self-effacing, and the audience will be on your side. Let's recap. You'd rather face a poisonous reptile than public speak, huh? Well, follow the well-cast Triple P checklist. Prepare extensively for your speech. Know your content backwards and forwards, and figure out the absolute best way to present it and to win over your audience. Watch your posture and physicality. This includes everything from standing naturally to breathing from your diaphragm.
And pander to your audience. Keep them in the palm of your hand, and with an easy demeanor, natural cadence, and of course, jokes.
Tweet us at WatchWellcast, email us at watchwellcast@gmail.com, or leave a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
When it comes to presenting online, most of what we see is pretty shit. In fact, if you're invited to watch an online presentation or attend an online virtual meeting, your expectations are pretty low. Well, these are 5 top tips to make sure you deliver awesome content that everybody will remember. Now, it's worth saying, I'm assuming in this video that you're going to be either filming on your phone or on your laptop, as most people would be. Tip number 1, think about the setting that you are in. So when you're delivering an online presentation, really think about your background, what's behind you. You don't want anything that's too distracting, so not in the kitchen with all the kitchen crap behind you. You want something that's plain and that looks professional. Just use a backdrop like I'm using now. This is just a standard black backdrop, and you can buy these on Amazon and they're really not that expensive. The same, you can get a stand to hold your backdrop on as well. So I'd really consider investing in one of those if you're going to be doing more online presentations. Think about how quiet the area is that you're presenting in. So you don't want any background noise. Close the windows, make it as quiet as possible, because when you're presenting online, the sound is really important. And think about the lighting as well. So you want the space that you're in to be really well lit. So turn the lights on. If there's a window in the room that you're in, make sure that that is in front of you. And basically that no lighting source is directly behind you, because what you'll find is it'll look like you're in darkness to the viewers. So really think about the setting that you're in. Number 2, stand up. If you stand up, you will naturally deliver a much better presentation. You will look like you are performing. Far too often, when we sit and we watch an online presentation, we're watching somebody sat at the table, slunched down. It's hard to present from this point of view. It looks like they don't care. It's hard to retain somebody's attention when you look like that. So stand up and really give it a presentation style. It will shock the audience into listening, because most of what they see in online presentations is crap, and it will make them listen. So deliver a performance by standing up. Now, if you're going to stand up, you need to raise your laptop up higher so that the lens of the camera is in your direct eye line. You do not want to be looking down at your camera lens, because then all your audience can see is the inside of your nose cavity. So standing up will just naturally make you deliver a better presentation. And that is key when delivering a presentation online. You are still performing. So stand up and perform. Tip number 3, rehearse. You need to treat your online presentation as you would a presentation on a stage in front of 200 people. So practice, get set up, get the camera set up, and practice performing to that camera lens. Tip number 4, dress to impress. How often do we watch people presenting online and it looks like they've made no effort at all? You need to treat your online presentation in the same way you would a performance in front of 200 people. So dress to impress. If it's casual, something where you're maybe just talking to colleagues, something casual like this would work. But maybe if you're presenting to customers, you need to dress smarter, something like this. The important thing to remember with online presentations is you need to treat it as you would a presentation in front of a live audience. So when it comes to what to wear, my advice is mirror the audience. If you're presenting to colleagues, then you can go with casual, but if you're presenting to customers, I'd always go with smart. Think about what you would be wearing if you were on stage. And number 5, think about your supporting material. By supporting material, I mean PowerPoint, Prezi, whatever slide format you intend to use, but also video as well. Don't ignore video. You can still start an online presentation with an opening video if you want to. And the slides that you use, make sure you use pictures so that people really remember them and remember you and your content. And importantly, with supporting content, you need to make sure that you have a backup as well. When things are online, you always run the risk of the stream going down and people not being able to see you. If this happens, have your supporting content, your slides, and your opening video available so that you can send it to people if they haven't been able to see it properly online. So those are my 5 top tips when it comes to presenting online. Remember, the audience's expectation is low. Most of these are shit. So if you just put in some extra effort and follow those 5 top tips, you'll deliver some awesome content that people will remember. Thanks for watching that video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, here's a link to some more. Please do subscribe because I'll be uploading videos weekly.